pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda. I'll second it.
A second. Any changes to the agenda? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes, 11/8/2021. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from 11/8/2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any changes, additions?
Just barely got these, I haven't had a chance to look at them.
You haven't did? Right, okay.
Well, when they,
You had a chance to look at them, Bob?
I emailed them to everybody.
Oh, you email, yeah, I don't. The emails don't get along too well.
Want to hold them?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if you want to consider these tonight, I have a few suggestions, but perhaps it'd be best if these were deferred. Your decision.
okay, we'll hold them over till the next meeting.
He's not on.
He's not on. Chief, where are you?
Car 54, where are you?
Is that you, 54?
Well, perhaps, Mr. Chairman, if the chief joins us later, we can take this issue up once he's arrived.
Sounds reasonable. Anybody have any concerns with that?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay, now we will move on. The appointment of Regional Emergency Management Committee, local emergency management director and representative from the local emergency service community, fire, police, EMS, public works. It's a Vermont legislative requirement enacted in law, section 12 of Act number 52. Mike, you have something on this?
So this is something new that the legislature enacted. So they're looking for the local emergency management director or designee and somebody from police, fire, EMS. And Pete's already the emergency management coordinator, so my recommendation is to appoint as voting members to this new REMIC, myself and Pete Mantello, from a period that ends in May of 2022.
31 May 2022, so moved.
So moved, is there a second?
I'll second it.
And a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion passes. I guess we have to sign this, folks.
Well, if there's a fire right now, you got a crew, so. Yeah.
You're joining us.
There you go, sir.
Thank you, Dick. Okay, next item, adoption of Vermont Community Development Program, MP/1, form municipal policies and codes. Mike?
This form the board signed in 2018 for the Windy Hollow Mobile Home Park grant. They just updated the form to February of 2021, so they wanted to have an updated form on file. So that's why it's before you now, and if you adopt it, then I will scan that to Peter's shell tomorrow.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the municipal policies and codes, Form MP/1?
So moved.
So moved, is there a second?
So moved.
Second.
And a second, any discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye, another one we have to sign, guys.
Okay, got it, Jim. Got it, Bob. Yeah. 21st tonight?
I guess.
Mr. Chairman, Chief Mantello's trying to get in. He responded to my hail.
Good thing, because he wouldn't have purchased my car without me him being here, right?
That's right,
He's still gonna have to sell it to me.
that's right. Sorry,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Joe.
Get up the building.
I have a question about process. I don't anticipate being back and able to get into the office before the last day of the month. Should I try to sign these, or would that delay the process too much?
If you got a quorum, or if a quorum signed it, then we
I
don't
guess
need-
we're okay, we have a quorum that signed it, Joe, so I guess
Thank
we're
you.
okay. Okay, moving on. Is the chief here now?
Not negative.
Chief is still not with us. Okay, then we will move on, I guess. We can't handle the next one because he's not here. 3-1, not yet. So we'll move on to the fire department submission of bids for select board review to replace engine 6 mini pumper. Chief, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Chief, can you come up here so we can hear, because you won't be able to hear you back there.
Sure.
Thank you. Not that we can't hear, the recording.
I was to see you pre-COVID about going out to bid to replace our 04 Ford mini pumper. We finally got through the bid process. We put out the 5 vendors. 2 submitted bid back to us. 1 submitted bids back to our spec. The Aaron's Fox truck is the one that submitted the bids back to our spec and was also the low bidder. Asking the board to accept the bid from Aaron's Fox for the truck, and to also allow us to get the SAM system, which is the new upgraded pump system that goes with the truck. It's an extra, I don't have that off the paper back there, but it takes it to 300, it's like $35,000 more. But it also doubles the warranty on the pump. And it also and it goes from 4 years to 6 years on electronic parts.
So what'd you say the total would be?
You talking about the E1?
No, the
E1?
no, not the E1. The 8 does Aaron's Fox.
I don't have that one.
I don't have that one.
I don't have that
I
one.
don't have that
Is that Lake Region?
Lake Region Fire Opera. That's the Aaron's Fox.
Oh, okay, I don't see that, what you're saying, I don't see that.
one. Oh, okay.
So the
It's calling it an HME in here.
The ad was $35,165.
to the 20, yeah, to the 20.
This is the one.
275,
So
900.
it's 3. I don't know.
311, that one.
311. I don't know what the.
Yes, I could do the math.
Is this the E1?
No, the
The other one?
Lakes Region Fire Apparatus.
Okay, adds 35,165.
To the, and that's it, that's the add-on. E1 didn't bid that option for us. We had asked them to, and they didn't bid that option for us. So it was,
$311,065 is what I got.
Okay.
there may be some discounts, seeing that we have the money to pay for it if we advance the money or whatever, and that would be something we'd have to talk about later on, but I couldn't make a deal because I didn't know what the board or the town would wanna do.
What's availability on this reality?
450 days is what they're before they'll guarantee we got it.
Was that from the time that you tell them we want?
we tell them we're gonna order it, they're saying 450 days before they'll guarantee it's here. As everything we know with COVID is back ordered. Frame rails for that new 550 chassis are on natural back order 6 weeks ago. And there's some electronic components that clip the wiring harnesses together, they're in the same boat.
Is this a four-door Heath?
Yes,
Questions from the board? Dick, you have any questions?
Your reserve account is right around what?
400,000. That's what the town manager gave me for a number
So
last Friday.
Okay, so that's including the 62 from fiscal year 20, okay. Now, I'm looking at a spreadsheet we did a few years ago,
Yeah.
can you recall that? So what are your plans on replacing engine 2 and engine 5 at present? I mean, you know, we did this 4 years ago, so things have changed.
At present, if I stay here and going forward, I would like to, if this truck does everything it's supposed to, like we talked amongst the department, I would like to replace engine 2 and the ladder at the same time and eliminate a truck.
And what are your plans with engine 5?
And engine 5 would become just a pickup that would be run till it's no longer can get inspected and then become just a pickup truck with a skid unit.
Okay. That last time I checked, we could do for around 50, is that still accurate?
With the skid unit, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Cause you just bought a 4-door truck, the one like at the town garage for what, 38,000, wasn't it? So for the skid unit, it's around 50.
And that would be a extra cab?
That's what I think we should have.
To put 4 grown people in
Yeah.
there, and with gear and crap
You
and
go,
stuff that they need. So what are your plans for so your plans for engine 2 would be to eliminate that?
eliminate engine 2 and buy a Quint, a ladder truck with a pump on it, a used unit to replace both of them pieces,
What do you estimate that would cost?
right around 100,000
So a decent used one?
for a decent used one. What's that out there on the
And when would you?
wish books,
I'm just looking at the numbers here, when would you plan on doing that?
within a couple of years.
Because my only concern is if we do this, and I'm not necessarily opposed or in favor at this point, but if we do this, it's gonna pretty much, well, it won't deplete.
You're gonna have 100,000 roughly left in your
Put
sinking
a pretty
fund,
good dent in the reserve account, so I wanna make sure we've got money to do crap with when we need to.
and you've got another 60 going in this year that's not accounted for there either.
You know, the town manager had talked to us, I hope you don't mind if I just take over for a minute. The town manager had spoke to us about recruiting and hiring a professional grant writer and trying to get some federal money for this.
We
What
talked
are your
about this,
feelings on that?
we talked about this on Friday. I reached out to Middletown because Middletown had hired somebody to get theirs. And if we can hire one, they get one here, or if we got a better chance, more power to it. With the 450 days, it also give us a chance to put out for this truck again through the grant. Because it's our primary.
I don't think you're gonna get a grant for it
Hold
when
it,
you got money.
just a second. One at a time, guys.
Yeah.
Keith,
Dan Duchar, he's been doing our grants.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
I've done the
just-
grant
I
for
just
the
wanted
last
to
3 years,
refer-
and one of the
refer to
questions that they ask you is how much money you have in the sinking fund.
Mhm.
And I 99% sure that they are not gonna give you a grant when you got money sitting to pay for it in the bank.
If you got the grant, what would the percentage be?
10%.
10% probably.
5 for our population.
5 of our population, okay.
So the
Fine.
grant would be 95%?
95%, so it doesn't hurt to apply. If that's what you're asking. It'd pay 95% of what we get for the grant. We've been trying for air packs now for 3 years with no success. I hope if we're gonna hire a grant writer, they'd also do that for us too. So, like I said, sometimes they hit the right keywords. Again, Dan puts a lot of time into it, but
I also heard, I guess he was talking to Mike earlier today, Pownell went and got a grant writer, and they got the money for their truck. And I think it's either you or Mike or somebody needs to reach out to Pownell and find out who that grant writer was and go through him, because if he had luck getting them one, we got a good chance of getting another one through them.
we've got, it's being 450 days out, we'd have time to apply for the grant.
Yep, I mean, this guy supposedly is really good at it.
It's
and-
gonna be 450. It's gonna be 450 days since when you order the truck, so if you're waiting on a grant, you're not gonna order the truck, right?
I think we should, I would hope that the board would,
One at a time, go ahead.
I would
You're
hope
the
that,
chief.
I hope that the board would order the truck and with hopes that and apply for the grant, and hope the grants come in.
That's a
if it
lot of
don't-
hoping.
If it don't, that's why the money's in the sinking fund.
What's the matter with engine 5?
Engine 5 is an old brush truck,
I just wanted
yeah.
to get the information out.
Engine 5 is the older brush truck that we use just for the brush truck. That's what that is. 6 is the one we're replacing.
Well, 6 is the one you're.
6 is the one it's replacing. That is an 04. It gets used most of the time. It is, we've got every till in it packed right tight full because we've got enough equipment on it. That thing runs at probably 75% of our calls. That's really our workhorse here.
How many miles you got on it?
Not very many, under 10,000.
Under 10,000 miles?
It's got probably more hours than it has miles, Jim.
Been on a lot of runs.
Yeah, does a lot of idling. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Other questions from Mike?
And that vehicle's our standard transmission, and not everybody can drive it, right?
Exactly.
Can't drive it, huh, son?
Well,
Can't drive that.
some of us can drive it, but not all of us. We're not all off the farm anymore, as I say a lot of times.
So what would you do with engine 6 that you're?
Just the way it sits,
Just the way it's, well, without the equipment on it.
without the
Strip
equipment?
down, no equipment on it, 30,000.
Okay. You guys don't put an hour meter on there so you can keep track of your
Yeah,
hours?
there's one, I think there should be one in
I
that,
don't know if there's one or
I
not.
think there's one in that computer in that.
I'm just curious.
I think there is one in there, but I don't know how to access it.
Yeah, you can go into the computer, it can tell you how many hours are on that
But
motor.
it does, like I said, it does the lion's share of our work. We've had trouble with it off and on, little things, and like I said, we're out of room on it. Being a standard is another key thing
Is that a Ford too?
the new one would be a Ford 550.
This one here, is this a Ford?
Yes,
Does it have a V10 in it?
no, diesel.
Oh, it's a diesel. Okay.
Are you saying that the vast majority of the members of the department are supportive of this type of purchase? A mini pumper? Are you saying that?
I believe so.
You believe so?
Nobody's come up and jumped up and down on my desk and had a fit about it, Jim.
Well, maybe they didn't want to jump up and down on your desk, Keith.
So,
We've had meetings
we've
about
had
it.
meeting and discussed it in all the meetings.
Well, I had a firefighter say to me that small trucks put out small fires and big trucks put out big fires and small. It would seem that that person disagreed.
Okay, Jim, you also, if you go to a big truck with four-wheel drive, you're talking probably $500,000 to $600,000 in price.
Then that leads to the next question, which I've asked you before. Why do we need so much equipment? I've asked you this one before, so you're familiar with it.
You're familiar with it. Like I said, the equipment, this much equipment's been here since I've been around. All of them are specialty items. What do you want to call it? This town is spread out around thing. 60% of our town is rural water supply. So we have to have the pumpers and the tankers to get the extra water there. We have the ladder truck, what most other departments around here doesn't have because we have a college in our town. You know, our extra truck is probably our brush truck. And because that truck was one of our mini pumpers that we've had here. Well, that truck originally rated here in '78.
How many pieces of equipment do we have?
We have 7 rolling stocks.
How many does Rutland City have?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Does anybody know how many?
Rutland City, I don't know, I know Rutland Town had
Rutland City
8 last
has?
time I checked.
Mike, could you answer that question? Mike, could you answer that question?
5 big trucks though, right?
Two aerials, 3 engines.
And plus 2 pickups.
And they got 2 pickups, a UTV, some boats.
We used to have a boat.
Mr.
We
Chairman,
also are not in the city.
Mr. Chairman, I'd have a comment on that.
Sure.
I don't think it would be equitable to compare Rutland City with Castleton because it's a totally different animal. Rutland City has no rural water supply needs, to my knowledge.
You get men.
It would be, okay, they have amended. It might be more comparable to compare them to Rutland Town.
Okay, how much,
Which has 8
how much
pieces of
equipment does Fairhaven have?
Fairhaven has 2 big pumpers and, 2 utilities.
3? How about
4.
Bolton?
Fulton has 3 big pumpers and 5 pieces in Fulton.
5. How about West Rutland?
Uh,
You had those numbers before, I believe.
yes, there's two engines, we've been, like I said, we've been through it before, 2 engines, a ladder, and 2 utilities and a tanker in West Rutland, I believe.
The reason I asked the question, I am not opposed to any of our departments having adequate equipment. Fire, police, highway. But I think the question, we're talking a lot of money for some of this specialized equipment. It's just a question of what do we need? But have you by any chance, or has the department contacted any organization that could tell us what would be adequate for the town of Castleton in terms of equipment? There's gotta be somebody out there, an organization that does that. You belong to the national, don't we belong to the National Firefighters or whatever the organization is?
Yeah.
We do?
I don't know what they belong to. We have the Chiefs Association stuff we belong to, but the ISO comes in here and gives us a fire rating. And our fire rating says we need X amount of number of pumpers. You know, basically the brush truck and the utility truck is the only thing that they don't consider on the ISO rating, Jim, and that's our insurance standards.
Do you have that information for us?
Not right here handy.
No, but you can get it. for us.
ISO rating, yeah, the town has the ISO rating and everything they've done to it.
And that
And
will
where
tell
we
us
stand,
what,
and,
that will tell us what we need for equipment for our town.
well,
given
that's
the
what, they give you a
geography and so
rating on what you have for equipment.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So that rating would say like you have 80% of what you should have. Is that what that?
Basic, a lot of that is they give you points. It's like a point system. A lot of it is how long it takes the calls you get the calls. How much, the biggest thing that affects that is how much fire hydrants you have in town. When we went through it 2 years ago, how many fire hydrant had in town affected it as much as anything. And of course, we have no control over that,
Yeah.
being as rural as we are.
Well, sometimes, may I interrupt for a second?
Go ahead.
Sometimes the ISO rating makes absolutely no sense to me. When we added the Fire District 3 to this town, the ISO rating went down because the furthest hydrant was more than a mile from the firehouse.
Yep.
Which makes absolutely no sense when you look at it from a common sense point of view. Because what it did was it increased the ability to have ready water at a lot more scenes.
Yep.
Whether it's a mile or 3 miles from the firehouse isn't really relevant. It's how close you are to the lake or how close you are to the hydrant that really matters. The only other question I had for you, Heath, is this new truck, gross vehicle weighting, some people have raised an issue with engine 6 being overloaded. That may or may not be true, and I don't really care. I
This
just want
one
to be
is
sure
more
that
than
this
engine
new
6.
truck
This
would
one
not
will-
be overloaded.
Exactly.
Okay.
Can you get us an inventory, like, the chief is waiting, that's the chief's picture.
Yeah.
He's waiting, and he's given us a complete inventory of the equipment, the cruisers, the years, and the mileage and so forth. I think it would be helpful if we had that information. I mean, you're throwing around numbers, engine 6, engine 7, you know, this and that and so on. It'd be nice to have that so we could look at it. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is for the chief. How soon would you prefer that we take action?
I would, when we got this, they said they would hold the price for 45 days.
So you would like us to either do something or not soon?
Yes.
Fair enough.
I guess I also have a question about the grant. And does anyone know how soon the grant has to be in?
17th of December.
When?
17 December.
And when would the agency take action on it?
Not till next August.
Pardon?
Next year.
Next year,
Next
okay,
August.
okay.
You wouldn't know till next August whether we got it or not.
Yes.
Is there an emergency between now and next August with your equipment?
Who knows what's gonna be available?
Time out. Yes, ma'am, you gonna answer, Heath, or would you like the
Like
lady
I
to?
said, like I said, this is a truck we're due to replace, and like I said, we know it's 450 days away. Is the truck going down the road right now? Yes, it is. Has it had some brake issues all fall? Stretch has been working on the brakes all fall, and they come back today with another brake issue.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? So, what, according to Dick, let me do that and I'll go right to you, Dick.
Fair enough.
You would like the board to take action within 45 days, right? Okay, all right. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah.
Well, first question for the town manager, what fiscal year, are we in fiscal year 20 or 21 right now?
We're in fiscal year ending 22.
21.
22. Fiscal year ends June 30th of 2022. So we're in fiscal year ending 22.
Okay, so we planned on, the chief and I, just to give you some background, guys, the chief and I, Chief Goyette and I, did a truck replacement schedule on 11/7/19. And we expected that we were going to be replacing engine 6 in fiscal year 20, and engine 5 in 22, and engine 3/ladder in fiscal year 23. So we're actually 2 years behind where we planned on. Thank you, COVID, for that, probably.
2 years ago was when I originally come to the board saying I was going to be looking at doing something.
Yeah, this is the schedule that, and I know I gave this to you, Mike, and I'll give it to any one of these other guys, anyone else who would like it, I could email it to you. It's just a spreadsheet we set up real quick, Chief and I did one night. So it says that we should have done, we were planning on doing this 2 years ago, just so you know.
This particular truck,
Yes.
2 years ago.
And for those of us who aren't aware of hours versus miles on fire trucks, you can drive 3 miles and then run for 8 hours. It doesn't, the mileage isn't really relevant.
Okay, anything else? As far as I'm concerned, Mike, you have something?
Now scratching
Oh,
my head.
You're scratching your, okay. Is it reasonable to say that we'll try to act on this within 45 days as requested
Yes.
by the chief and the department? Anyone have a problem with that?
Mr. Chairman, so 45 days from the date on here?
That was the date of the.
So that was 30 September.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 9/30/2021 on top.
I'd say it's 45 days from tonight.
So it's already.
We
it's
can't,
already-
then
Pretty good.
that price won't be no good anymore if we do that.
Well, it may not be, but. I guess you're gonna make a phone call pretty quick, Heath. See if they'll hold it for,
Yep. See if they hold it for 45
yeah,
days.
if this says September on
Right,
it.
for 45 days.
I don't know if they'll hold it from 45 days from the ninth, but I know they would probably hold it at least to the next board meeting.
This is the
That's why,
document you're
that's
going
why
by,
Bob
right?
just made
This
that
is 60
suggestion
days,
to get
Chief.
on the phone and.
That's what I was
and
about to
call
say.
them And ask them.
This is 60
This
days.
says 60 days, so
60 days.
I would let them know that this has got the bigger pump.
yeah,
This
I
is a
would.
different truck than, this is a different truck than what, we're replacing it with a different type pump than what we have for engine 6. It's a full-size pump instead of a 500-gallon a minute pump. It's a full 1,500-gallon a minute pump, just like your big trucks have.
Okay.
Oh, shit. We lost Allison, so I'm gonna start keeping.
Mr. Chairman?
We lost her?
Yes, Dick?
So I'm gonna ask the Heath another question. Would it make sense to call this guy up and, I don't remember if the name is even on here. If you could call this guy up and have him revisit this, and I would think it would make sense to upgrade the pump controls and the electronics to increase the warranty. And is this is a diesel power plant that's been around for a while, so we won't have the same
new
problems?
Ford has been way better than the one that was in between the one we got now and this one.
Okay, so we shouldn't have the hiccups we experienced when we first got engine 6?
We shouldn't.
So we're going to contact the vendor and see if they will hold the price for how long?
Are you talking next meeting?
That's 3
Oh,
weeks from
I'm
now.
talking either 45 or 60 days,
Well, this was 60 days as of 30 September.
30
Means the
September.
60
Well,
days are pretty much
call them
up.
tomorrow and ask them if they hold the price for a reasonable period of time till we can get all the information.
What I
See
would
what he
like,
says.
what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is give Heath the authorization to tell him he's got a live one for the upgrades at the same time. Does that make sense to you, Mike?
Yep.
Any other
What I'm
questions?
saying, Dan? You
I
understand what I'm
just
saying?
want, make sure we're all clear on this. Just exactly what's gonna happen so that we can act appropriately. Mike, do you have that information? Are you doing any notes or?
Yeah, so I'm asking, are you putting a date on it or a number of days? So the next board meeting is the 13th of December.
21 days from now. Just see if he'll hold it for another 30 days after the 60. The 60 is up the end of this month. See if he'll hold it through December. And that'll give us the
Month of
two meetings.
December to do it.
The month of, the board meeting in December, is that what you're saying?
Oh, the two boards.
Yes, but just
Give
give us another 30 days on top of the 60. That way you'll give us all of December. We probably won't need all of December, but we need at least another 21 days after this expires.
Okay.
So why not go for the 30 days instead of 21? We don't meet for another 21 days, Heath.
Okay, I'll call him and ask him.
Just ask him if he'll hold it till at least the middle of December.
By the end of December, see what he says.
That would be better,
See
yeah.
what he says.
Yeah, don't give up anything
No,
ahead of
don't
time.
give up anything.
But a minimum by the 13th.
Yeah, it's gotta be at least 15th of December, because we don't meet till the 13th. And we'll call him on the 14th, the morning of the 14th, and let him know.
And could you get us the information also about the surrounding towns and the equipment they have? You spelled that out verbally, but could you put that in writing for us, along with the inventory of the equipment that we now have, so we have something concrete to look at?
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that agreeable with everyone? Is
Absolutely.
Yes,
Pardon?
that okay, Joe?
that's okay.
That's okay.
Thank you, Heath.
Yep,
Thank you very much, Heath, we appreciate it.
So, Mr. Chairman, we got Allison back and you got Chief Mantello on the Zoom now.
Okay, Chief?
Good evening, sounds like a fun time tonight, good evening, board.
No, you're gonna make it easy for us, so go ahead.
So, you all got copies of, which month report did we get to you? I know we missed one, you got one, and then you got the new one, what month?
October, it says.
Okay, just making sure, I know that we missed the one where you got to read the September one. So, I'm gonna just kinda get through this piece, not a lot has changed, you see our call ratio went up a little bit. We did have a few more deaths in October versus September. And any questions on the calls?
Any questions from the board on the calls?
I'm good.
You're good?
Chief, I just noticed what has changed. I've noticed more patrols up on Route 4. Is something has changed, or is that just, do you have it?
Well, what we've noticed is that we only do those under highway safety, so we're not up there on regular duty if that's what you're referring to, but we've been noticing the last month that when we've gone up there, that we get speeds ranging, I mean, well over 90 to 100. So we've been trying to get up there, up by the IRA, that 1026 mile marker.
Yeah.
And it's crazy up there. So
Okay,
we have been doing more of those for that reason.
okay. Sounds good.
Any other
So
questions?
any questions on the tickets? Nothing on there. We've obviously gone up a little bit. We do have a campaign coming up actually this week. You're going to see us, a couple of the officers are going to be working highway safety on 22A because of the accidents that occurred there in the last month. So you're going to see a lot of officers working that route probably Wednesday, that Route 4. So that's going to be happening. With reference to the university calls, past 3 weekends have been really good. I've had to speak to a couple houses on mechanic. We had some issues about a month ago, and we haven't really had a whole lot of issues down there. And assists are about the average, you know. We've still been assisting agencies that need it. I mean, everybody's running, you know, I wouldn't say skeleton, but I know that VSP runs like 4 a shift. Sometimes Fairhaven doesn't have somebody on, and sometimes they do. We've been consistent with our shift coverage, so that's been going well with that. Any questions on any of the stuff on the service calls or anything that's listed on there?
Chief, are you still providing school resource officer to Benson? Or
Yeah, so, yeah, it's a good question. Thanks for bringing it up, Bob. So this year, we still cover Orwell, Benson, CVS, CES. Next year, they're only gonna use us 20 hours a week. And we're just gonna cover Orwell, Benson, and CES because CVS won't be open.
Okay.
Okay. Mike, you have any questions?
I just had one, not a question, but a comment to say, it was nice to hear, a couple of weeks ago that, Fairhaven is looking for help. A woman was really going out of her mind. Her husband ended up dying. And Justin went, and it did me good to hear that they were looking for somebody, and Justin stood up and stepped up and ran over and was with her. So it was just nice to know that, you know, that they got help, and it was nice that we could help them.
Yeah, that seems to be, we're all about, you know, I mean, not to boast on this department, but we really provide a lot of services to the community. You know, we're there to help people. We're not here to make arrests and make people miserable, but we're here to keep things, make people feel safe. We just finished this past Saturday, we just did 45 Thanksgiving meals with turkeys. We've been out Saturday, we worked with Castleton Cares, helped them, and then we delivered our 45. And people are always very thankful for that. So we're gonna continue to do that, but we're only doing it when they get it, we help them, and we just get those food boxes and get everything put together and deliver it. So that's been a blessing, and I don't know if you've noticed, Dick, we've been doing a lot more directed patrols on River Street. I don't know if you've seen them out there.
Occasionally, not often, but thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I told the officers to hit some of these other areas. There's always people, you know, wanting traffic enforcement in certain roads, and we try to get all of them we can, but we've been busy too with a lot of things going on. I did put that press release out in reference to what happened the other night with the guy trying to burn all his canisters of propane and oxygen tanks. So probably going to get some calls on that. You know, we've had obviously a lot more deaths this month too, actually in November also. So the community's been feeling a lot, and it's this time of year, so you got a lot of things going on. Any other questions on the report? Jump right into the vehicles.
I guess not. Go ahead, Chief.
All right, so you got my original handouts for those, right?
Yes.
On all the vehicles, the inventory?
Yep. Yes, we do.
Okay, so let me kind of, I've always said this, and I know Jim's gonna ask me the question, why do we need, what's the need for vehicles? So, when I first came here, obviously I want to do a vehicle change out every 4 years. So right now, as you look on the sheet, I have a 15, a 17, an 18, and a 20. The 15, as you can see, the mileage is right now assigned to our newest officer, Casey. Not that that vehicle is not being used by other officers, but primarily that's assigned to him. Doesn't mean it sits in the yard. Can be used for highway safety. It can be used for SRO or anything like that. The 17 is my vehicle. You can see the mileage on that. The 18, Nate and Ed share that vehicle. And then the 20, which was 2 years ago, came out. That's what Justin uses. So we, originally, when I first came here, we didn't have assigned vehicles. We kind of just had the two newest vehicles and we just rode them out and just put the other ones out. But what I found out through the maintenance was, the longer vehicles sit, no matter how new it is, you're gonna have more issues with them, so it's better to keep them all running. You're not gonna have issues with corrosion and stuff like that. That's why the Taurus, is gonna have issues, where it's, cause it's sitting too much. So, that's my plan. So obviously this year, in the past few years, we changed it. When I first came here, it was 12,000 for capital gain, or capital reserve, and then it went to 15, and then we went to 17. And obviously you see, I only have 26 on there, on the, what I have in my capital reserve. I didn't know how much money I was gonna have left over from last year's budget, which I had a decent amount. I didn't encumber it. So I wanted to see if I could get this new vehicle leased. The town manager and I sat and we talked about, I know the board doesn't, you specifically, the board doesn't like to lease vehicles, but with the cost of these vehicles compared to like a dump truck or a fire engine, it's a lot less for 3 years, and then you just buy it for $1 at the end of the 3-year lease. So one of the things that also, with the extra 12,000, that was for the other parts, and I will answer some of these questions. I'm anticipating some of these questions on the equipment, whether we can, what can we use from another vehicle that we take offline. If you look at the list of the items listed on there, they're all lighting. There's a cage. See, I don't have a cage in mine. So every new car we've been able to just put a cage in it. So right now, mine's the only one that doesn't have it. So the other 3 do, so we're gonna stay with that. The lighting system, I don't do a light bar because they're well over $3,000 to $5,000, so we just keep it, the lighting system that we have. The things that would be transferred, obviously, would be all the radios, inside, because those are fairly new, they're only a couple years old anyway. And the console would be different model. That would change. The new camera system we were able to get on a grant, so that's, you notice that's not on there. And normally the highway safety grant used to cover all our lighting, which in the past, if you've ever remembered, we never had to pay for most of our lighting because it was covered. Well, the last 2 years, they decided to not use it for the lighting, but use it for cameras, in-car cameras is what we end up getting for the new car that whenever I'm authorized to order. So we do have that. So that's why that cost is up. As you can see, the total, the 34 plus the 12, 46. I have the 26. I did do a Kelly book also through NADA on the resale if I was to sell the 15, because that would the car that would be going. Ranges from 7 to 11, but I've never had a lot of good luck selling used cruisers. So they range from 7 to 11,000 if we were to sell it out, according to what they say. Questions?
Questions from the board. How do you sell the used vehicle? You put it out to bid? Is that what you do, Pete?
No, Bob, what I normally do is I try to sell it, I put it on the chiefs, I send it to the Chiefs Association, put it out to the municipalities.
Okay.
I don't put it out on Craigslist or anything like that. I try to see if anybody wants it. I try to get a hold of people that may want it. I've even tried to sell it to Fairhaven once. That's normally how I do it.
Okay.
Well, Bob, there's a light issue, because if the lights are staying with the vehicle, it can't be sold to, because those lights on there.
Yeah.
So if it's sell to law enforcement, it makes it a lot easier to move it.
So Joe Homer can't come in and buy it?
They have to strip all the lights off it.
Oh, boy.
I'd have to strip, that would possibly, if I was to do that, which we did with the old Constable Blazer there, we sold it to, an employee from the district.
Yep.
They had to be stripped.
Oh, boy. And you have to do that yourself?
No, somebody's-
Well, I don't do it, but we pay for somebody to do it, because that's, you
Okay.
can really mess it up, the wiring, if you don't know what you're doing.
Sure.
Mr. Chair.
Any other questions?
Mike?
Peter, I'm not a fan of leasing. I hate them.
Yeah,
I'd rather buy them outright. I just, there's a lot of people make a lot of money on these leases, and it ain't us gonna be making the money. Wouldn't we be further ahead to buy this outright and get a better deal, paying cash money to buy this car?
oh, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, we want to do it, but I don't have the cash in my budget to pay it outright. That's the issue.
If we ordered it here in another few months, so that it showed up after June 30th of next year, where you would be able to roll some more money into it, would that be a possibility to do it that way?
Yeah, you can buy it outright after June 30th. With all the equipment.
So if we ordered it, say in January, and it showed up after June, then we would be fine. How long is it gonna take you? I guess my question is, if you order it, how long is it gonna take before you're gonna see the car?
All right, so it's a good question. So if we had ordered it in July, let's say, it would have got here December. So if you order in January, it's about the same thing, June or July. It's probably in that period.
So that would work if we ordered it.
It would take probably another 3-4 days to get everything equipped, to get it ready.
Okay. So if we ordered it by the end of January, that would probably just about fall right into where we need it to be.
Yeah, yeah. I'm fine with that. Listen, I'm pretty easy with that. I just want to, what I don't want to do, as you can see, you know, we spend a lot of money on maintenance. So, because we average anywhere from 20 to 25,000 miles a year on the vehicles, and you notice that, you know, you get in that cycle over 120,000, 130,000, you're gonna start cycling a lot more stuff in it you normally would if you try to get it within that range. Get rid of them.
You all set?
I'm good.
Bob, you set?
I think I'm set, yeah.
Dick?
Let Mike go first. I think I might be good.
Okay, Mike?
So
Mr. Chairman.
do you want me to wait until, obviously, in end of January, and then I'll bring it in front of the board again, and we'll go with it then?
Well, wait a minute, we haven't quite reached that point yet, Pete. Kind of inching along. Mike Jones.
So in the proposed budget, after I met with Chief the other day, the car itself we saw on state bid price is $35,000.
Okay,
So if he goes back into a 2-year cycle with cars, $17,000 a year isn't gonna even get you the base car. And then you're gonna add X amount of dollars into it for the equipping it. So we come up with a number of $24,000, I think 500, I'm not looking at it right now, but, and that would have to be, you know, you'd have to improve that to get that started. So that what we don't know is what the state bid price will be, you know, for the next roll around on this. That's for a 22. So we're kind of do a little bit of a crapshoot with that number in there, but if you approve the 24,500 to get him on a 2-year cycle, he'll have enough to on July 1st to purchase this car. Plus there'll be some money, but he's now gonna be behind again because he's not gonna have the full 24.5.
Right.
So either the town goes to a 3-year cycle, or we have to increase that figure that's in the police budget and the reserve, or else he's always gonna be behind. And all I'll say is there's another option to that is if he has a budget surplus, you could encumber that into the reserve and make up for that loss. He had like a $35,000 surplus this year, $35,000 surplus this year. So there's a couple options out there, but I think the elephant in the room is keeping it at 17,000 is always gonna put us behind unless you go to a 3-year cycle.
okay. Other questions?
So where'd that 35,000 that he had after the end of this last fiscal year, where did that go? Why is
Yeah.
that not in here?
His last car that he purchased, he had to borrow, so that 17 that he had in there,
Yeah,
we had to steal some of that to pay for,
steal some of the 35?
yeah.
The
Okay.
20, yeah, for the 20.
Okay,
20.
okay.
Other questions from the board?
Mr. Mark isn't, I'm not sure if he's.
Joe, do you have any questions for the chief?
No, I just want to kind of agree with Mike Holden that I don't like leasing, and I also don't like getting ahead of the reserve fund. So I think if we need to adjust the reserve fund annually, we should do that, and short of that, we should delay this until another pop goes into the reserve fund.
Anything else, Joe?
That's it.
Okay. Shall I ask you now, Pete?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sure you're ready. Why do we need 4 cruisers?
Well, I thought you were gonna ask me, why do we need 5 officers? So.
No, I'm not gonna ask you that.
On one.
You're not ready for that one? Okay.
I think, you know, I can't statistically say, I can go to other departments and say they have more than us, or some have less, Fairhaven has the same, actually, I may have 4 or 5. Rutland Town, which is the same size, they have at least 4 that I know, possibly 5. I know that the chief has a car. So I know that's kind of the standard, but I also know that if I had less than that, it would really limit, I wouldn't have any, if a car gets major work done, it's gonna put a lot more mileage on the other cars. I think this is I think what's worked for us in the past 8 years, really, 20,000 is not much for a year, 2025, considering the amount of driving we do. So it will take them enough, it's reasonable. So every 4 years, you're trying to get rid of them.
Now I'll ask you the real question. Just so you don't think the fire department's alone. If your vehicle was left at the police station, we'd have an extra one. How do you like that one, Chief?
Well, you know what, that would be a contractual thing that we'd have to discuss, but right now it's in my contract, so I'll leave it at that.
Sounds like the union.
Plus, I'm the call-out person.
Okay.
You just got a new contract too, right, chief?
That's right.
So you're the call-out person, chief, 24/7, you're the call-out person?
Yeah, I mean, or I'll designate somebody else if they call me, and if I know if it's after 4, I usually call the guy that comes on at 6.
Okay.
Yeah, we got Justin the other day and he didn't get any sleep, so I know it wasn't you the call out.
Well,
Okay.
you know why? Because when the dispatch called me, they called me on my personal cell, which was being charged, and I always keep my work cell up by my bed, so I chewed them out for that one.
Any other questions? If I could think of another bombshell, I'd try to drop it, Pete.
Well, no, I'll give you the answer that the one you, for officers, the actual national rate for officers per 1,000 people is 1.8 to 2.6.
Okay.
So we're doing pretty good.
Okay. I guess I'm with Joe on this, from what I heard from Joe, and that would be to postpone the purchase till after July 1. I don't, the rest of you, however you feel, that's up to you guys.
Are you saying don't order it until after July 1, or can we order it after, like, the end of January and pay for it after July 1st?
How do you feel about that, Joe?
I think as long as we don't have to pay until July 1, I'm okay.
Okay.
That's good. I just wanted to get it going in case it gets longer. I think if we wait
Right.
too much longer after January, I think we're gonna be looking at possibly 23 before we can get this car, so. I think we should order it at the end of January and pay for it in July.
Okay.
Well, what I could do also, Board, is I can check that as we get closer to that and see what the delivery date would be.
That would be
Okay.
good.
That'd be good?
That would be
Yep.
good.
Is there a motion based on the information we have?
I don't think we need a motion, do we? We just
Don't need a
tell
motion?
the chief to come back at the end of January.
Gonna come back and see us,
Come back in January? Okay,
Um,
sounds good. Is that okay with, oh, hold it just a minute.
Before
Go
we
ahead,
move
Dick.
on, I'm okay with that, Jim, and I'll agree to that. Before we move on, though, something that keeps occurring to me is we have 4 cars, and we are hoping that we can set our reserve account up to buy a car every other year, which means that the 4th car would be 8 years old when we replace it, which at 20,000 miles a year is 160,000 miles. So the bottom line is, if we want to have 4 cars and we want to buy a car every other year, it's just plain not going to work. We have to rethink our whole strategic plan here, okay?
Yep.
So, perhaps we need to think about it during this budget cycle or certainly by the next.
Okay. Anything else on it? We all understand where we are?
I'm good.
Okay, everybody else
Yeah.
good?
So,
Okay, anything else, Pete?
No, thank you very much for it.
You're quite welcome. I'll pick you up tomorrow morning, give you a ride to work.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Town manager, is this the first or the second draft?
What are we on, Mr. Chairman?
What are we doing?
What are we doing here?
I think it should be, oh, yeah, the,
You're on the next item on the budget.
Yeah,
Okay, yes, so this is certainly a draft. I brought in copies and I did not email it to Joe, I didn't have time before coming over, because I got updated numbers from, the rec, from Nedra and from Martha Clifford, so I updated their figures in here, and I can email it to Joe later after the meeting. But I can certainly go through what those number changes were. But I guess looking at this budget and if you've looked at it, maybe we can work backwards on this and say, is there things that you accept on it, and do I need to go back and things you want me to work on? I've looked at this, I've ran the personnel figures, I recommended a 3% increase for the full-time non-union staff. The union members already have that in their contracts, and it literally changed the bottom line amount by about $1,000. So I'd ask that if you can accept the 3%, we're gonna quibble about $1,000 and, for those staff that are primarily at the town office, because everybody else is within the union, a union. I didn't have the guidance from the board. I didn't have like a percentage from you or anything, so I kind of just looked at what I did last year, which was only a 0.3% increase or $10,000. And I've been doing that over the last couple of years, and I've whittled the fat off the bones in this thing so much that I'm also kind of concerned that if something happens, we're not gonna have that flexibility we've had in the past within our department's budget to absorb the unknowns. I know we're not supposed to budget for unknowns, but they happen. So looking at this, without trimming things like personnel or, electricity and heating and stuff like that, a lot of these budgets, I trimmed it down to like, this is it. And you'll see that because it reflects a lot of these very low increases, maybe nothing, maybe some have decreases. The biggest contributor to the overall end line, or the bottom line figure for the draft, which is on page 12, the final number, is the rec budget. Because the rec came in here and they asked the board to consider a full-time recreation director. So I met with Martha, that number's in here, so this budget reflects that full-time recreation director. That's the bulk of the increase.
and how much is that?
The overall, I'm looking right now, the overall rec
where is the,
budget, I'll tell you what page here.
There's not 13 pages here.
I got,
This is page 9 of 13.
no,
This
this,
is
I
the
got
last
13.
page.
I got 13
So
pages.
the rec budget starts on page
That's my
9,
last page. What does that say
Yeah,
right
you
there?
you got the old one. I got the,
and
This is the one that was
personnel
left on the table right here.
is on that page.
I got 13 pages.
So with the recreation director figured in, the total budget is for personnel is $71,583, or an increase over $51,422 over last year. Now, hold on a second. Hold on. You want to make sure I'm on
Draft
the right
one or
I
draft
think
two?
I'm on the wrong one, sorry. The one I just handed out to you is the most updated one.
That was my question. The one that was in our folder is garbage?
No, you want this one.
The one this was in my folder.
Yeah,
My
that's been
packet.
updated, so that there's on the very front page, Bob, there's a date, on the upper left-hand corner. So it should say today's date.
Right there. What's it say?
11/22.
11/17. That's
You
the
got
one,
the 17?
that's the one in my packet.
Yep,
So that's no good?
correct.
Okay. This has only got 9 pages, Mike. It doesn't have-
11/22. Yeah, you should have 13 pages.
What does that say right there?
9 of 13. I've got
13.
I've got 13.
They made in that packet right here.
Oh, this is thicker.
I may just stapled the wrong ones together.
Throw that one on the floor. So
They're here in the room.
Let's put it over with this one here.
So, but the number for that recreation on page number 9 of 13
9 of 13.
is $71,583, or an increase of $51,422. That was for the full-time recreation director. Now, that wage, I'm not sure what we'll get, but it's like $18.25 per hour as a starting wage. So that's the lion's share of that increase.
What's the total increase, Mike?
It's on page, what does it say?
It's on page 12 of
Find
13.
that
It's on the
$75,000.
No, I didn't find. Where's the 70-some thousand on 9, Mike?
It's under, if you go almost to the bottom, the last grouping in there, it says, total recreation administration.
Okay,
I don't
got
have that.
I got, it's a couple lines up, Mike. It's up here. It's not at the bottom.
It's at that last section though.
Yeah.
It says total recreation administration, the numbers are 107,000-48.00, it's just below that.
What the hell? I don't have that at all, unless I'm on the wrong page.
I'm struggling with that too. I don't see no 100,000.
Are you on page 9, guys?
I'm on page, it says page
It
9
says
of
Page
13.
9 of 13.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll show you, hold on.
And it says total recreation administration.
Yep.
My eyes are just playing games on me. I
So
just,
go all the way to the blue column. 71,000,
there we go.
and there's the total increase of that
51, 422.
right,
That's,
Okay.
that's increase over
that's over last year's.
last year. Up $51,000.
That's because of the getting rid of 2 part-time directors and going to 1 full-time director.
Okay.
But there was some money in there, so you didn't need to recoup all of that, didn't you?
That's correct. It was like 13,000, I believe. Well, if you look in the previous year, it's 44, and the top line for personnel services, and if you go up from that 71,000, last year it was 16,506 in the pink column.
Yep.
And somebody asked me about the total, Jim, it's on page 12 of 13.
Yes,
And the
yes,
total budget's above last year's,
yeah,
$99,888, or 2.9%.
okay. Got it.
Page 12 of 13.
Now, I looked at this budget and there's, I could probably say, without a doubt, that I could take $10,000 off that, but this is where it gets
Right
kind
here,
of
did you see it, Bobby?
tricky, because
Third-
I would take
page
it from the
13.
constable's budget.
This is 13.
No,
13.
12 of
I
13.
provided you your
12.
packets with what was reported to VLCT from member towns,
There's green line.
and
Go all the way
that
to the
one, I
end,
called
there's your
Lyndon,
number,
and
and
their
that's the
police
percent.
chief is the constable, so that number that's reflected of that 51,000 or 47,000, that's their full-time police chief. He's also their first constable.
That's how much it's up.
But we're the second highest at 20,000 paid. So I was looking at, so I talked to the police chief and I said, tell me give me an honest answer of what you think we've lost for services, or public safety, services to the town, since the first constable's been out. And he said, there's not a lot. There was some elderly checks that he used to do, and so I looked at it and I put $14 or 14 hours per week in the budget. That's $14,000 at 20 hours per week. $20 per hour, sorry. So I'm like, that's a big chunk of change that's in there. And then the other one, if I use unassigned highway surplus, I could reduce the highway budget by $5,000 by taking some of the carryover. But I don't want to, if you do that too much, what happens is you reduce this year's budget down there, and then next year when we don't have the surplus, and we got to put it back to $82,000 for salt, we spike the budget again. And then it's a hard sell. So I've been trying to keep it stable without
Fluctuating too bad.
causing big spikes in a department's budget.
Okay.
But those are the big numbers, and then there was one in accounting. If you go, I can tell you what page here.
It's on page 1 and the top of 2.
Page. Yeah, so it ends up, the one we want to look at is on the bottom of page 1, under the heading accounting. There's an increase of $5,277 in clerk assistant
What does that say?
over the previous year.
13.
And after talking with Melanie,
That's page 10 of 13. in mine.
that's for Christine, bump her hours up.
Probably the same.
So it's a total increase to
About the
the
same.
counting budget
What are the yellow boxes you got?
of $6,817, which is Jim Lake's percentages at 6.5%. Under managing municipalities, which is,
3 or 4 pages in.
Take them right off.
Oh, boy.
I got it double staped.
what's the page?
It's in the first part, first few pages. I don't remember
Yeah, it's
exactly
on
which
page
one.
1. There was an increase of $2,500. This is all based upon the 3% increase. I know I probably wouldn't have sold it to you, but if Jim, you catch that Karen's got a 5% increase, is I took 1%, and would give her the other 2%. I think she's underpaid for what we asked her to do, and I'd rather give her my part of mine to try to sell it to you the other way, because I didn't think you'd go for it. Conducting elections is below that. I just got an updated number from Nedra. It costs $2,000 to calibrate the tabulator, and we got 3 elections. So there's $6,000 in her budget already. So every other year when we have more elections, when that cycle comes around, it costs more. So her budget goes up and down. If you look in history, it goes up and down, with some of these lines. But that was a $3,466 increase. But if you look at a lot of these, there's zero, some negatives, low numbers. I try to keep most of them under 1%. So I guess if there's any questions of what's been presented or any further guidance you might have.
I have a first question. What are all these highlighted yellow boxes that have nothing written in them? What is that, Mike?
Are you, what color block are you about?
At the orange block.
Oh, those are ones that, under the auditor's report, when I was looking to fill in that block with the actuals, I couldn't find them. And a lot of them, some of them are, if there's a 0 there shouldn't be a highlighted thing. But if it said $50 for transport and travel, there's no number assigned to it, so what that really means is probably didn't get used. But I just I put that highlight there to double check. But those are only actuals for fiscal year ending 21, which ended in June, this past June.
Okay.
So it's not a budgeted number, it was the actuals for it.
Anything else, Bob?
No,
Okay,
no, not right now.
get a chance to go
Yeah.
through it, yeah. Mike,
Not right now.
not you. Dick?
Yeah, the first question that occurs to me, and I know you addressed this at some point briefly, either in your town manager's, maybe it was in your town manager's report, I don't recall where I read it, or an email. What does a full-time rec director do for us? And if we hired a full-time rec director, what other actions or expenses would we have to incur that we're not thinking about now?
The
I don't know if I asked that question right, but do you understand what I'm asking?
I think I do, so I'll try answering based on what I think.
Take a stab at it. I'll work with you.
The rec commission did give a job description of what the full-time rec director would do. So I'd rather refer to that than off the top of my head. But basically, if I give you the 30,000-foot flyover, it would be, they take over all the programs of coordinating and resourcing of the programs except for swim. They still have to hire, swim instructor, but this person would be the one contacting people, getting quotes and prices, and organizing the sheets that get handed out for signups, and so it's taking, they're gonna take care of everything that the part-time folks did, plus offer programs, get on these programs like the adult programs that they don't offer right now. One of the things they mentioned was they want to stimulate that adult program, that things that nobody has time to put together right now. So I'd refer the nuts and bolts of it to the actual job description they provided that night they were here. And the second part of it was,
Well, basically, what other, you alluded to something that might have been in your town manager's report, that if we hired this person, there would be other things that we would have to do, or expenses we would have to incur to make it worthwhile to do this.
I'd have to go back and reference that, but I know one thing is you have to count is if it's a full-time person, that number is large because you also have the benefits.
Yeah, I saw that in the budget.
So, and that's a guess, we don't know if they're gonna have a single plan health insurance or if they're gonna have a family plan. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not opposed to it. I'm certainly inclined to support it, because one of the things that we need to do is make this town more attractive. So the question that occurs to me and needs to be presented to, the answer needs to be presented to the voters if we present this budget to them, is what will a full-time rec director do for us, and how will it make this town more attractive? Because the idea is to bring more people into town and bring in more taxpayers. So everyone's piece of the pie either doesn't get any bigger or gets smaller.
I mean, it's probably a small part of the budget, but accountability of all the equipment and stuff that the town ends up purchasing each year has been left at coaches' houses because there's been no place to put it. And now we have a place upstairs at the town office, they can store a lot of that stuff, but just having accountability so we're not buying this equipment over and over, year after year, when it's, just because it's lost or misplaced. It'll save some money, it's not gonna take the sting out of going to a full-time rec director versus the two part-timers, but it just helps whittle away at some of those, the bottom line.
Okay, anything else for Mike?
Now we know.
You ready, Mike?
I have one thing.
Go ahead.
The library part of the budget, I have not met with Nancy yet to give her, she went over the hires and who they have and how much they get paid per hour and how many hours they work, but the rest of that budget, I have to still meet with Nancy to get those numbers.
Okay. I don't know where the rest of you are, but you'll probably figure out where I am. Given the cost of inflation at 6.2 in October, and that people are paying considerably more for gasoline, propane, heating oil, food, and so on, I find it very difficult to support a budget that will raise their taxes. I think people are scrapping now with the situation we have. So I'd like to see you round it off at 100,000, because that's basically what it is. I'm not saying where, I'm not saying this department, I don't know how you would do it, I'd leave that up to you. But I'll have a lot of difficulty in supporting that kind of increase, especially given the economic situation we have.
Can I just respond to that?
Of course you can.
Well, I mean, I just ask that you look at this and scrutinize that there's a lot of budgets that don't have any increases.
That's
So
true.
these, if we're gonna reduce it, we're really taking it from a select few departments.
That's up to you. I'm not gonna step on your toes and say, cut this line or cut that line or this or that. All I'm looking at is the bottom line of 99,000, almost $100,000 increase at 2.9%. That's all I'm looking at.
Well, so what are you asking me to do? Is there a number in mind here? I haven't heard.
Yeah, level funded,
You wanna take $99,000 out of this budget?
yes.
Okay.
That's, all I did was give you a pencil that was sharpened.
Well, if it's up 100,000, so it's up 100,000.
Right,
It is,
yeah,
I just wanna make sure we're all clear on this.
yes,
So
Right.
somewhere in there, it's up 100,000.
that's right. Add it all up, the bottom line is
Is
100,000.
it all rec? It's not all rec, right?
No.
Rec's not up
Well, about
100,000.
50,000 or so of it's,
So
rec,
half of it's rec.
yeah,
So another 50,000 is someplace else.
which includes we had a reduction in healthcare this year, so that was a good thing. But you had the pay increases and union contracts, we can't do much about that. And any other increases that, Beamers, and FICA and all that. Those are things that
Uncontrollable.
we have to work around, other places in the budget.
Yeah.
But that 99,000, again, like I said, about close to half of that is that one position for rec. So
The rec.
now you're talking, if you took that out, you've reduced that number quite a bit. It was 16,000 and it's 41 plus the benefits part of it.
Yeah.
And I figured it in for a two-person plan because I don't really know what that
Sure.
person would have.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask one other question here, and I asked you this today. There's nothing in this budget for the operation of the village school should the towns of Castleton and Hubbardton acquire the village school as of July 1 and having to start to pay the utilities and the upkeep on it. I'm not talking about the deferred maintenance, I'm just talking about the utilities. That's not even in here. So, that's out there. I mean, it's a factor. And it's a factor, I think, that we kinda have to consider.
And dispatching costs, if they ever come
Yep.
to some agreement on this, was gonna go up for the police and fire. They haven't, they had a meeting and, it was just to tell us that the state's trying to work on some way to subsidize it. They said it's gonna be a soft blow, they're not gonna drop a bomb on us all at once, but they still have not provided us with a number, a figure, a dollar figure, and a timeframe. So, but it's coming to a theater near us at some point, I can't advise you on what it may be at this point.
Okay. Anything else for Mike? Any other suggestions
Yeah,
for
Mr.
Mike
Mark.
regarding the,
Mr. Mark.
oh, Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of quick comments. First, regarding the bottom line, the $100,000, I think the issue of going full-time for a rec director is a separate consideration. But in general, I think, in a budget like ours, which, I mean, I haven't done the numbers, but if I assume that our budget is structured roughly like what a state college budget is structured, something like 75 or 80% of our budget goes to personnel, salaries, benefits, et cetera. And those are largely beyond our control on a year-to-year basis. I mean, contractual salary increases are negotiated every several years, and the cost of benefits is determined by other people on a year-to-year basis. And if we level fund a budget, what it means is that with each successive year, we are shifting our budget from being very heavy on personnel to even heavier on personnel. And what that results in is, in my experience, neglect of the maintenance of the institution, neglect of supplies, equipment replacement, repairs, things of that sort. So I think I don't personally favor level funding unless we think our budget is fat, in which case we certainly should do that. One of the questions that I have about the rec director is about the reporting relationships and the respective roles of the town manager and the rec commission. It seems to me that it's not clear to me who, in effect, directs the work and supervises the rec directors, the part-time ones we presently have. But I think that would need to be worked out, and we would need to have a clear understanding about who's in charge if we were to commit to going the direction of a full-time director. And finally, I'm very supportive of beefing up the budget as necessary to accomplish the recording tasks that our various boards and commissions require. It's clear that that's been a lapse over the last month, and it's been a problem for several years from my perspective. And I think we need to try to stabilize the position, the role of who does that, so that we can maintain our responsibility to provide timely minutes to the public.
That it, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments for Mike? Okay, we'll move on.
Oh, Mike's got a question.
Oh, Mike, yeah, okay, sorry.
I asked for clarification, because I heard what you said, Mr. Chairman, and I heard what Joe had just said,
Okay,
but I still, what is the board saying to me overall? Because I didn't hear from anybody else on what the board, I'm looking for what the board is asking me to do. Is there any specific guidance, I guess, that you want me to pursue?
Can you tell us how much of the 50,000 is related to the Recreation Commission person? How much of the other 50,000 is increases? In other words, tell me at the next meeting how much the increase is total. Last year they paid X amount of dollars for insurance. This year they're paying X amount of. How much is that difference? How much of the 50,000 that's unaccounted for right now? You know what I'm saying, Mike? You know what I'm
I
asking?
think he's trying to say is out of that 50,000, what is there in that money that we really can control other than raises and stuff? Is that what you're trying to say about?
Well, it's not what we
What's gone
control.
up?
What we can't control. How much has it gone up?
Right.
Yeah, like,
In other words, the Beamers and all that, of that 50,000 that's unaccounted for right now, how much is it raised up?
okay, that it, Bob?
I
You all
think
set with
so.
that?
That's a number I'd like to see.
Okay.
I mean,
Mike?
my thought is, I'm with, I like what Jim said, and unfortunately, I can see where he's going with this, and I can't go to the people and say it's gonna go up 100,000 when, like he said, we're in a tough situation where people are just barely making it now. And then we're gonna turn around and tell them it's gonna go up another 100 grand. I don't see nothing good coming of that.
But on the same token, Mr. Holden, did you hear what Joe pointed out? Every year you're gonna have increases, you're gonna have increases with the
Oh,
wages.
you
and
are.
stuff. So how do you make up for those increases every year? Do you take away from the highway department? You have to take away someplace.
Right.
Otherwise your budget's gonna go up it's gonna go up every year.
Right.
Unless you start taking away from someplace else. These costs that we can't control, whatever, it's 3%, whatever it is every year. I totally understand what Joe says.
And fuel oil, I'm trying to guess on what fuel oil might be.
Oh, I know, fuel's gonna go
Some of these
crazy.
places I'm down to, I mean, I have hard data on electrical costs and what we spend on propane or heating oil. So I can't take from those because we're
That's an
constructed
actual
from those
figure.
services and those needs, maintenance of buildings. So there's a lot of them I'm down to, there's nothing to trim out of certain budgets, because I've done that already, to get us down to 0.3% last year. And so, I agree with what Joe and Bob just said, is, heavy on these personnel, and then we're stealing from other places to
Make up that.
to try to make up those differences.
that's right.
And we're down to peeling tiles off or putting, not putting shingles on roofs or something like that.
Okay. Dick?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. I was looking through this, and we have a $100,000 increase, which may or may not be justified. And half of that is the rec director. So let's look at the other half. And I was looking through this real quick, and there are some things in here that we flat out cannot control and should not cut. And if we, and things like 6% of the increase is conducting elections, and we have no control over that. I won't comment on anything other than the fact that I'll say that 12% of this increase is the accounting department, and I won't comment on that because of who I'm married to. 8% of this is the fact that the NIMRIC costs are going up for the software. Now, we can't control those, so the question that occurs to me is, what are we not gonna do? Are we not gonna buy tires for a truck? Are we not gonna buy chains for the trucks? Are we not gonna buy new gear for the fire department? Are we not gonna buy, the cops the equipment they need? If we wanna level fund this budget, then we have to decide, and we as a board, not just the town manager, are gonna have to decide what services are going to be reduced, because that's exactly what we're gonna have to do, is reduce services to the town.
Well, if you recall, back a number of months ago, I asked for an evaluation of each department in relation to services and expenses. All I'm basically saying is, we should constantly be looking to operate the most efficient form of local government that we can, and provide the services that the voters decide they want. And just because we've done something 50 years ago, does that mean we have to do it 50 years later? There may be ways of doing that. I don't want to tie the hands of the manager and say, well, this has got to go or that's got to go. But what I would like to say is, it seems that though there's enough of us who are saying, to ask you to revisit it and see what you can do. You did that last year, and you did a pretty good job.
I hope that there's some feedback going around, and not to drag this out any longer, but there's some I'm hearing positive feedback right now from some of the hires we had in the highway department. And tonight, I just got another phone call about the police, and how proud they were to have a police department like ours, and how they're part of our community and stuff. And the stuff I'm hearing about the highway department, there is some changes happening in the highway department that I think in the long run are gonna save us money. And so we are moving, I guess, it's only been a short amount of time, they've only been on for a couple months, but we're already finding equipment that was there that we didn't know we had, and we're fixing problems that have been,
Don't say nothing, Jim.
I'm not saying anything, Mike.
well, I talk to Jim every day, so he knows what's going on. But, we're making some strides, and I talked to him about the sandblasting our equipment and making sure that, why do we need to buy that new truck if it's still in good shape? And the two people that we hired are on board. And you're gonna see some really good systematic, strategic, things that are getting implemented there that's gonna save us money over time. But it's not gonna we're not gonna get over the increases to healthcare and all that stuff. It's just gonna be increasing efficiency, and we'll start whittling away at what we're paying, and we're not buying stuff we don't need.
Okay, you're going to
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Joe?
Two quick things. First, I want to support what Bob had just asked for, which is kind of an analysis of the $50,000 that doesn't include the rec director role as far as what we can't not spend. And the second thing I was going to say is I'd be interested in looking at year-end budget surpluses, unexpended funds. Sometimes those are indications of a problem we wish we hadn't had. You know, we had a vacancy that we really need and we're going to fill. But sometimes those are indications of a little bit of more meat in a budget than is true of other departments. As I think you all know, Mayor Allaire found that there were positions in the police force that not only hadn't been filled, but hadn't been filled for years. And that resulted annually in some sizable surpluses in those budgets. And in fact, he decided the appropriate response was to be more realistic about staffing levels and cut 7 positions out of the budget. I'm not saying we should do that for police or any other department, but I think one insight into where budgets are lean and when they're not so lean is year-end surpluses.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Shall we move on, gentlemen?
I think we better, Mr. Lamb.
I'm ready to get back to my grandkids.
I don't blame you, Joe.
Where are you, Joe?
I'm in Maryland.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
They have me in this basement cell. Can you see it?
Yeah, I see
I
that.
see some of it.
yeah. Okay, moving on, we're now about 30 minutes late. But it was worthwhile. Updating purchasing and financial policies, town manager, Mike?
On this one, I talked to Melanie about our financial policies that we submitted to Windy Hollow Trailer Park back in 2018 for their budget. And I left 2 messages for Patrick Sheld from Vermont Community Housing Development. It's my understanding they're not looking for anything different than what we provided to Windy Hollow back in 2018. So I talked to Melanie, I just need to get a copy of that policy so I can get it there. There's no need for a new policy. So we don't need to go over that. I just need to get that from Melanie and get it sent to Patrick Sheld, or get it uploaded in Gears, because that was in reference to the library's grant, their accessibility grant. So we don't need to go over that one.
Okay, move on. Moving on to public comments on acceptance of the Fairhaven, Rutland Town, NH, SURF 64 paving projects of Route 4. I assume this is a formality?
Yeah, it's a formality. They're just asking for feedback. If you have none, it's none.
None?
But they put, I gave you it was basically that paving project. They did 18 miles of 4 from Fairhaven over to Rutland. They were looking for feedback on that paving project.
Okay,
They've already done it, right?
Yeah, it's all done.
it's all done?
Who do you report that to?
The agency, it's gonna go back through probably V-Trans, but it's whatever was on that sheet. I don't remember.
That's the worst friggin' job I've ever seen done.
Yeah,
And every bridge, the bridges over Door Drive is rougher now than it ever was before they started.
I mean, I'll make notes, but,
And every joint where every truck unloaded on that highway, you can feel it in the steering wheel of a car. I'm leaving my big truck out of it. That is ridiculous. Nobody watched them when they were doing this. And you can see every load you can feel it in your car. We paid all that millions of dollars. You go over Door Drive, I have to hold onto the steering wheel of my truck with both hands because it jerks the steering wheel so bad. These bridges are ridiculous.
Got that, Mike?
yeah.
Okay. Any other comments on it?
On that particular project, no.
Pardon?
Not that particular project.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any other public comments on the paving? That's the state highway paving, Route 4. Nothing? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the manager's report.
Short one.
You hear that, Mike?
Try to help Jim.
So,
What's your name, Mike? I thought it's not Jim, is it?
No. Mine says 11:19, is it supposed to say that?
no,
You got it, Mike?
you're right.
I
Good
know it's not,
catch.
but that's okay. That's probably when it was put together.
But you're on the correct one. Does anybody have any questions of what's on the report, I guess? They're highlighted yellow, if there's anything not highlighted in yellow, whatever you, I guess I've said my piece in it, unless you have any questions about it. A lot of it's follow-up with, Mickey McClure, Paul McClure, there's three different places they need to work on, the buildings, and we wanted to get them done before winter, and it's been months. I've explained where things are at. We got some insurance claims out there. I know it's not the sewer commissioners meeting, but they are down to 2 feet of sludge in that tank. They've taken away one trailer load, and the bullet, it looked like a bullet was fired through that side of that, because it went up and then out to the roof.
Holy man.
So it's got a big hole in the roof and little hole in the side, but, I just give you a little update on that. They're still working, they're gonna be done, they're saying by the end of next week, because it's a short week this week.
Is the insurance company gonna cover it?
It's with the insurance company now, so I haven't heard, the engineer came down, took photos. But they're in the middle of it, when they finally got down to the sludge now, now they're gonna start getting a little more tonnage, dry tons. But it was less sludge in there than what we originally thought, so,
Less sludge in there?
yes.
So they
Okay.
wound up with a better case number than a worst case number.
Yeah, that's what it looks like right now.
Okay?
We talked about the AFG grant. I did send a message to Bob Schlachter, who's the head of the Rutland County Mutual, or Rutland County Mutual Fire Aid, to see if he can get me a number for the chief for Pownell. I did talk to Billy Lovett. They did not write a grant. They didn't have a grant writer when they wrote theirs. And they bought the platform that they have, the new one, they purchased outright. So. I'm on page 6, item 12, select board. So I did reach out to a guy named Alex, who was the recommendation for doing the deferred maintenance assessment at Village School. He gave me a quote today of $2,200 to do that, and he can't get here until around the 20th of December. But I asked him to have something back by the first meeting in January for you guys to look at, and he thinks that's doable. And I told him I'd help him with coordinating with Chris Cole initially till we make those contacts. And I've also secured Ted Parisi for the legal questions for that vote for the Castleton Village School.
Mike, did you mean 2,200 is that the total amount for the,
That's for his inspection, him to do it, and he's gonna have to subcontract out, because he's not a qualified electrical HVAC guy, so he has the subcontractors that do that part of it. But he will come in and do it soup to nuts and look at deferred maintenance.
is he going to give you an estimate of the total, what he estimates the total cost will be?
As of, if we had to do it today, what it's gonna be 10 years from now, he's not gonna do. He'll tell us, but he will tell us, when they inspect it, that, hey, this needs to be addressed in the next 5
Yeah,
to
could
7
you
years.
put priorities on it or have them
Yeah.
put priorities so we know what's gotta be
But he
done?
won't tell you what it's gonna actually cost us in 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
Is the
Thank
school gonna pay for half this like we discussed?
That's something we have to go back to him, and now that we have a number,
Okay,
and be able to say, you said you'd do some kind of cost share,
okay.
and then Hubbardton would be the other, determined based on the minutes from last meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Mark had said something about, that they're 11 or 12%.
Yep.
So that's, now that we have it, I just got this today, so I'll be able to reach out to the school, the school, the district. Unless you have questions on anything. The last page, I'm sorry, on page 7, union negotiations. So the New England PBA collective bargaining agreement that both Mr. Mark and Mr. Combs helped negotiate 3 years ago almost, 2.5 years ago. 3 years, whatever it was. That we're coming around this year's due, so we're gonna have to enter into negotiations with them. And so I put in there, do you want me to start reaching out to New England PBA to talk about ground rules and getting a timeline established?
Yes.
Joe said yes.
Okay, all right,
I agree with Joe.
we'll do that.
The other thing I was gonna say, Mike, is on 12A, Dick can report on his conversations with the chair of the Hubbardton Select Board.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, Joe. We are tentatively planning on meeting in early December after Mr. Martin gets back from Maryland. Mr. Gibbs reached out to me, the chairman of the Hubbardton Select Board, Robert Gibbs. He reached out to me, and, well, first I reached out to him and told him what our proposal was, that 2 members of our board and 2 members of his board should get together and make sure that we all have common knowledge and are all on the same page. And he thought that was a good idea, and he got back to me last week and said that he was willing to meet at anywhere, but his first choice would be preferable for them and us to meet at their town garage, because one of their select board members is a highway department employee, and it would just be easier for everyone. And I said that sounded like a good idea, and I talked to Joe Mark about it, and I did, and he advised me that he would be back in town the first of the month, and so I got back to Mr. Gibbs and said, as soon as Joe gets back, we'll talk about setting up a meeting.
Okay,
A meeting in regards to the Castleton Village School,
Yes, so the
Okay.
2 members of our board and 2 members of their board getting together, and,
just for the camera, because you didn't say anything about what the meeting was about, Dick, that's all.
oh, I thought I did when we first started the report,
No.
but.
I didn't hear it.
okay. Okay now, Bob?
I think so, just so the people watching the.
Sure.
Yeah, this is all concerning the village school.
Yeah,
Okay, Mike.
And I started at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm not sure if it was recording at the time I said it, but I have a copy of the notes that Mary Droege brought to the Cedar Act meeting last Thursday night, so I'll get that out to you so you can see what she was meeting with them about and her talking points. And one from Sand Hill Road, I'll get that concerns from a citizen, and I'll get that scanned and emailed to you as well.
Thank you. Anything else, Mike?
Pending your questions, Mr. Chairman, that's it.
No, does that end at the end mean no executive session?
No, none. I don't have it unless you guys have
You
something.
don't have one? Okay, Mike. All right, any other questions for Mike?
I'm good.
Everybody's good?
well, what can we do? You see that they paved the wheel tracks on 22A, and they paved the wheel tracks on South Main Street in Fairhaven. Can we put a bug in somebody's ear at the state level, Mike, to do the same thing on Route 30 here and Route 4A between Castleton and Fairhaven?
We're doing it with Tom Millie's Corners. and
Yeah, Tom Lily's corner down there, yeah, they did some of it, but they kinda stopped, and it's pretty bad out through there.
Horrible out through there.
Yeah,
Don't sugarcoat it.
no, it's not good.
And
I was
so
hoping when they left South Main Street, they'd go right to Route 4A and do that too, but they didn't.
that's, that project's on schedule for the road widening from Stewart's to Blissville.
Oh,
That's gonna be a total redo of that road. They're gonna widen it and everything.
pretty quick,
That's supposed to be within 2 years.
okay.
But for right now, if you're.
They could patch those wheel
They could
things,
shim it anyway, at
Yeah.
least.
it's not good.
Okay,
So Route 4A and where else?
There's parts on Route 30, but it might be out of our jurisdiction, but between here and Sudbury, it's the state's responsibility.
I know if you're talking about your constituents, Precision Auto, Steve at Precision Auto, the water used to run right down the road into his parking lot.
Oh,
And I
okay.
called them on that, and they come out and looked at it and said, it's because of the wheel tracks. I'm like, yeah, we know that. And
Okay.
they said, you know, it'll get solved when we repave it. I'll go to the well again.
Second Tuesday next
Just see
week.
what you can do, yeah, because they did South Main Street, that was horrible, so.
Okay, 10-4.
okay. Anything else for Mike? No? All right, Joe, you have anything else for Mike?
I do not.
Okay, moving on to purchase orders. Bob.
That mean he wants me to do?
Yeah,
Whoever.
Make a motion, we approve purchase order 047621 to Brookfield Services for preventive maintenance agreement for generators for a total price of $3,226.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, now we move on to the warrants. Keep going, guys.
Make a motion, we approve warrant number 1122R for $650. Warrant 1122 for $309,680.85. Warrant 1118 for $32,888.27. Warrant 1112 for $9,365.11. Warrant 1109 for $12,405.36. Warrant 1118P for $17,011.58. And warrant number 1110P for $16,745.81.
Is there a second?
second.
And a second. Any discussion of the warrants? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion passes.
I'll make a motion for number 1119P for $628.33, and number 1111P for $628.33.
I'll second it.
And a second. Discussion.
I'll recuse myself.
Okay? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 I'll
Motion
make a motion for number 1120 for $170.24.
I'll second that one too.
I'll recuse myself from that one.
All in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Hold on,
Aye.
I get those, so.
Pardon? Get it?
This is on 1121.
1120.
1120.
Got it.
Here
I
you
thought
go.
you said the other one, sorry.
No,
Not yet.
number 1121, we already did last meeting.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
In the minutes.
Come on, boys.
It's in the minutes, and everything. We did it last meeting, Dick.
Because you said, you told the crowd that, I told them that the reason you guys recused yourself is because you get paid.
You and I both excused
That was the
ourselves. for
purchase order, not the warrant.
Oh, there's not a, I thought there was a purchase order in here.
We did the purchase order last meeting. Now we need to do the warrant.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Make a motion, we approve warrant number 1121 for a total of $9,000.
Is there a second?
Joe just seconded it.
And a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 I'll excuse myself.
I recuse myself.
We just made it with three, okay? Dick and Mike recuse themselves.
Yep.
Right. Okay, we're signing the warrants.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, I missed something.
Oh, sure.
On 1120, the one that says for you,
Yep.
who made the motion, who seconded that?
I made the motion.
And I seconded it, Mike.
Thank you.
Oh, I can't sign this one. Joe Marks, Dick and I both can't sign that one.
That's,
That's the one you can't-
Yep. Yeah, there you go, Dick.
Mr. Spalding,
Yeah.
did you have all pages now for that?
yeah.
Okay.
I took off, there was 3 extra pages. I took them off. I think I have them all. I counted them. There's 13 there, so.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, you can't sign that one either, Dick. Can't sign this one either. Dick can't.
Yeah, there's 3 that I shouldn't sign. It's supposed to be normal too.
I thought that tonight there was a purchase order for the points.
That was last week.
No, I'm saying tonight I thought I saw one sitting around here.
I had one. I brought mine from last meeting.
Mike, is that the pencil I gave you? Or is that a different one?
That's a different one, it's
That's a
longer,
different one?
it's longer.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Doing well, Bobby. I'll tell you when to stop.
Yeah, I need that from you. I can't even get my name right between the,
I
the
scribble it,
papers.
so there ain't no way you're gonna read it anyway, so.
oh, I was feeling this under there too. Wow,
Is that it?
I think so. Hopefully, I don't know what you got, but.
That's good.
So Joe, Mark, Melanie,
Here,
maybe
Mike,
you
give that
come in
to-
and sign that one warrant after the fact when you get back from Maryland, that 112
Sure.
warrant? Okay,
Yes.
because it's only got 2 signatures on it right now.
Should be in Tuesday.
Okay, we all set?
Good.
Move on. Select board comments or concerns. Mike,
I'm good.
Bob?
I just want to ask Selectman Holden if he's been able to attend any meetings of the Rutland County Solid
I
Waste.
have not.
When can we expect the second quarterly report of the Rutland County Solid Waste District?
Let me get a hold of,
Well, that was due in August, and now the third quarterly report is due this month, so we're 2 quarterly reports behind. We can just get caught up on that.
okay, I'll see what I can do.
Okay. You're not prepared to give those tonight?
No.
No. Okay. And I covered the wheel tracks and Mike. I think that's all I had.
What's that? Dick?
I'm good.
Joe?
I just wanted to express again my concern about the lighting at the entrance to the driveway that ends up going to the fire station, and the public safety building. I know we can't do anything about that quickly, but I do hope that that's on a work list to find a solution for the darkness there.
It's on my calendar for Wednesday to go over.
Tell him.
It's on, Joe, it's on my, work calendar for Wednesday to go over.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anything else?
Just in regards to that, Mike, is it something Green Mountain Power could help us out with the telephone poles on each side? Would they put a light out there?
I asked them to put a light there before, and we have to pay for the pole, but I'm gonna go over and talk to them about lighting on their signs, and see if there's something done there, but, if we wanna pay for a pole, they'll certainly put one in there. But they put one over there because there's already an existing pole.
Oh, yeah, there's non-existing poles there. Oh. Okay.
Okay, anything else? Nothing, Dick? Joe, you're all set? Since there's
I
no,
am.
since there's no executive session, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Want to
And
do
a
that?
All those in favor?
Here, go to bed.
All right.
I'll bet
Aye.
you do.